to Rating the List, where we review, discuss, reimagine popular movie lists objectively. We're your hosts. I'm Jerry.
And I'm Brad. On this episode, we're exploring number 91 from AFI's 100 Years, 100 Passions, the top 100 love stories of all time.
All right. So number 91 is Working Girl, released in 1987, directed by Mike Nichols, starring Melanie Griffith, Harrison Ford, Sigourney Weaver, and Alec Baldwin, and Joan Cusack. Huge star-studded list.
All right. So, the synopsis for this romantic comedy are as follows. Ambitious secretary Tess McGill, played by Melanie Griffith, works for a stockbroker by day and goes to school at night. She's treated like a bimbo despite often providing great business insight. She quits that job to work for Catherine Parker, played by Sigourney Weaver, a mergers and acquisitions associate. Seemingly supportive, Catherine encourages Tess to provide ideas. After Catherine is held up in traction due to a broken leg from skiing, Tess house sits. She comes across meeting notes about a client merger that was her idea, but Catherine is passing off as her own. Tess decides to use Catherine's absence and connections to pursue the merger herself. She joins forces with another merger and acquisitions associate, Jack Trainer, played by Harrison Ford, and the two work the deal while also falling for each other. On the day of the merger meeting, Catherine arrives home. Tess learns that Jack was dating Catherine and manages to dodge him while once again acting as Catherine's assistant. She leaves to join Jack at the meeting but forgets her planner. Catherine reads it, learns of the merger, and crashes it. Her lie in the open, Tess apologizes and leaves. Days later, after clearing her desk, she runs into Catherine, Jack, and the client in the lobby. Jack sticks up for her, and Catherine is exposed to stealing the idea. The client offers Tess a job, and she and Jack end up getting together.
So this story is, I can't even tell you how relevant it is.
Yeah.
It's really about women in the workforce in predominantly male positions, and women coming in and having to live up to this like male standard. It's, you got to get past the 80s hair
and the
shoulder pads because visually this movie is pretty dated.
Yeah.
But the subject matter is very, very poignant. And coming from someone who works in construction, I get it. Like, you have to work extra hard to be taken seriously and to be listened to. And this is her whole struggle with it. And it also shows the dark side of female relationships. It shows that, yes, we can seriously empower each other and make each other work harder and be better people, but we can also be a detriment to each other. And it's really sad to see. Like in this movie, Sigourney Weaver plays like this huge like president of a company, and she's like this amazing like executive. But you see that there's a reason why she's so bitchy, right? Mm-hmm. Why she's stealing ideas and why she's, a hard ass. Mm-hmm. and like, and is, on top of everybody about things. And it's because she feels like she needs to just adapt this persona of a man, really, to get respect. And so she's mean to other females, and she's, really just not a pleasant person. So, and I see this in real life. I really do. And it's really too bad. Yeah. But this movie really has a point to make, and it's interesting that it was done in the 80s when this was really, really, something up and new to discover about women in business, women in the workforce.
Yeah. I think this was at the time it was pretty progressive. I don't know how much so it is now. This I think you could find avenues to remake this movie.
Mm-hmm.
There are aspects of the kind of like the story conveniences that would be hard to come by, like with the prevalence of like cell phones and social media and the internet and all of that stuff now. It would be hard to have Catherine just be completely off the grid. So like, she goes on vacation.
Oh, right.
She breaks her leg and she's holed up like in, like some ski town, and she isn't able to get back, and she's just basically like convalescing for weeks at a time. And this allows Tess to
take over for
to kind
her.
of pretend not to be Catherine, but to be Catherine's position, like she's the merger and acquisitions associate and not Catherine, instead of the administrative assistant. And that allows her to kind of work this deal from start to finish and have time to develop a relationship with Harrison Ford. And they do some unconventional things, like they show up at the client's the wedding of his daughter to like kind of get in his ear a little bit. And there's just like stuff like that. That stuff happens today, but I don't know that they would be able to do it in a vacuum where Catherine wouldn't have any idea that any of this stuff's going on.
Well, two things. One, this movie really reminds me of 9 to 5 because it really deals with the same sort of subject. It also reminds me of Pillow Talk, because Pillow Talk was basically a relationship based on lies, which this is kind of the same deal, just reversal, right?
Yeah, to an extent though. She's pretending to be a different job, not a different person. Like,
true.
Like he's not falling in love. Like, that's why this one.
That's very true.
He's not falling in love with someone that Tess is not. Tess is still Tess.
Yes.
Tess is lying about the fact that, hey, I happen to be administrative assistant, not a merger and acquisition. Right. So I lied to you about that. I didn't lie to you about who I am and how I feel about you or what I know. Like, all That's this, I did all this work still.
Yeah.
That's like, she did all the work.
Yeah.
She put together, the idea of,
it was still her mind.
It was still her mind that worked. She had to lie about her position in order to get her foot in the door. Right. So she did a slightly dishonest thing, but she's still authentically her. Like, Rock Hudson's character in Pillow Talk is not authentically himself when he's pursuing Doris Day's character. So it's a little different. Yeah, it's based on a lie, but I mean, this is the kind of one that you could get past. So believing that Harrison Ford eventually forgives her for what she did.
That's true. It makes sense.
It makes sense. You can track that. You can believe that.
One thing that I found really funny is, we've kind of heard it all our lives that women are way too emotional to be in power, right? We're too emotional to be president of the United States, and we're just too emotional.
Yeah, had the last four. How did 2016 to 2020 go? Because we had a totally like non emotional president at that time. Right.
We digress. Anyway, so one scene was they're walking. Harrison Ford and Melanie Griffith are walking down the street, and she tells him, "Hey, so this is kind of what I did," and he's like, "What are you talking about? You can't do that. What do you?" And he's totally having this like emotional breakdown, and she's like, "It's fine. It's gonna be fine."
Yeah.
Like, and so that was kind of funny.
He's worried about breaking the rules, and she's
right.
Like,
and she's like, whatever.
She's used to breaking the rules. Like, I have to break the rules in order to do, to be able to get in, inside the same doors that you do. Like, not even knowing that she's ultimately like completely lying about who she is at that point. So, yeah, that's always an interesting thing.
Yeah. So it was really funny because he was having an emotional outburst, but he is, where he is partly because he's a man, right?
Yep.
So, the love story in this movie, okay,
it's okay. Like,
it's okay.
Like, earlier, in an earlier episode, we were talking about how you could totally believe, like, Maureen O'Hara, like, every, like, male in the room would, like, be falling all over themselves. I don't get that from Melanie Griffith. She's an attractive woman. There's like, I'm not gonna say she's not, but is she like the most drop dead gorgeous woman you've ever seen in your life? Like, do I believe in this room of all these people, especially like in New York City, full of all kinds of attractive people, that she's the hottest woman in the room, and she's the one that Harrison Ford just immediately, zones in on?
But the whole thing about that scene, though, is that all those women that were in that bar were dressed like men.
Yeah.
And she was the only one that had a dress on.
Yeah.
It's such like a catch-22, right? Yeah. Like, it's like men are like, no, I want my women super feminine and wearing dresses and super cute like that. And then, you try to, or these women try to blend in, really, and that's not good enough either, right? Yeah. So it's like, it's really interesting, the whole concept of this movie. I don't know if it belongs on 100 Greatest Love Stories, but it's a very interesting movie. And
I mean, at least, and to be fair to it, versus some of these other movies, it legitimately like centers around a love story and has a love story at its core.
That's true. Yeah.
I think this is a movie that could be updated, and you could do something different with it. I think you'd have to work in some kind of way for Catherine to really be off the grid. But I think the themes still play. I mean,
for sure.
Things have gotten better the last 35 years since this movie came out. But there's those issues still exist. I mean, you come home every day and you're talking about a lot of the stuff that Tessa's dealing with. I mean, to this day. So,
especially since I'm such a bombshell. Like, it really gets in the way.
Oh, you are, baby. you're my bombshell.
Yeah, okay.
So I gave this one a 70. Jerry gave it a 64. The list score is 67.
All right.
So that is number 91.
Yeah, if you would like what we're showing you, if you've been following along, please subscribe to our channel and like this video. Also, if you have comments, if you think you've seen this movie and you loved it and you hated it, whatever, please send us a comment. We'd love to hear from you.
Or you can email us at ratingthelist@gmail.com. Until next time, I'm Brad.
I'm Jerry.
And we're Rating the List.
We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.